Tonight, as we look beyond COVID-19, it's time to talk about humankind's other existential threat. There are striking parallels and serious challenges. So how will this ordeal change the way we approach the climate crisis?
One of the greatest challenges we face is climate change.
Pay a price for every tonne of carbon pollution.
Carbon tax is a bad tax.
Australia can't solve climate change alone.
January was officially Australia's hottest month.
This is coal. Don't be afraid. It's coal.
Entire ecosystems are collapsing, and all you can talk about is fairy tales of eternal economic growth.
We are going to continue to evolve our policies.
Remember the climate wars? Yep, seems like a lifetime ago, but since COVID-19 knocked climate change off the front pages, something remarkable's happened. Nature's taken a deep breath.
Get this, LA now has the cleanest air in the world. I know, I never thought I would say that.
The drop in coal and oil use in China have reduced carbon dioxide emissions by at least 25%.
Particulate pollutants have dropped in Delhi by 71% in just 1 week.
With a third of the entire world in some form of lockdown, we've been given a small glimpse of what a healing planet looks like. 2020 could see a staggering 5.5% drop in projected global CO2 emissions from 2019. That's double the year-on-year reduction required to keep global temperature increases less than 2 degrees over pre-industrial levels.
The COVID-19 pandemic response has shown us that we can make changes across the entire society. We can understand what a real change looks like in a short period of time.
Of course, this is a silver lining of the darkest of clouds, the greatest global trauma since World War II, and any gains we do make could be lost, and then some, as soon as lockdown's lifted. Flights will resume, factories will fire up, and cars will return to the roads. After all, we have to get millions of Aussies back to work. That has to be the priority, but while our economy's in hibernation, we have a rare chance to ask ourselves, what do we want it to look like when we wake up?
We've got this moment in time where we've had something terrible happen to the world, and we've also got this moment in time where we can start to revision what a new future looks like that will deal with this current economic problem and the future environmental problem.
For most of the last decade, our leaders have offered us a choice. You can have jobs and growth, or you can have action on the climate, but you can't have both. But if that was ever true, it's certainly not true now. This is a moment where suddenly economics and the environment align.
Much of the debate about climate change in Australia has been driven by partisan argument. Right now, there is an emerging bipartisan approach to big policy questions. And if that does continue for a time, then there's an opportunity for Australia to think again about climate change policy.
It might have come at a terrible price, but we've been given a chance to future-proof our economy, to lock in emissions reduction and create jobs with ambitious renewable infrastructure projects that make Snowy 2.0 look like, well, Snowy 1.0. Some pre-pandemic modelling suggests that committing to a 2030 target of 53% renewable energy could create up to 59,000 direct jobs and many more indirectly.
Australia has enough wind and solar resources to power the entire world for 10 years. That's the opportunity that exists. High voltage, direct current cables to Asia to export our solar energy, and using solar energy to drive aluminium smelting, and even creating hydrogen that we can export around the world as a fully zero carbon clean energy.
It's not going too far at all to suggest that embracing renewables would present a new economic opportunity for Australia. We could be a renewables energy superpower.
Domestically, we're well on the way. 2019 saw our first emissions drop in 4 years, largely thanks to renewable energy uptake. It's currently providing around a quarter of total supply, and for the first time on Easter Saturday, renewables briefly provided more than half the electricity in the national energy market.
We already have the ability to be 100% renewable within a couple of decades, maybe even sooner. But front and centre has to be a market-based mechanism for dealing with emissions.
With livelihoods destroyed and life as we know it on hold, maybe climate change will feel less urgent than ever. But that mentality could take us down a dangerous alternate path, one where the coalition reverts to its carbon-intensive instincts backing brown industries over green industries, one where projects like Adani are held up as exactly the sort of economic stimulus we need right now.
If we carry on the way we've been doing and still relying on fossil fuels, we're going to get into two lots of uncertainty. The uncertainty of the price of these fuels as they become increasingly scarce, and we're going to have the problem of uncertainty in climate change.
That path may offer a way out of the woods for this generation, but the legacy for future generations, well, it's no legacy at all.
We are students here at school! We want solar! We want more!
Buried in the ashes of all this suffering and loss is an opportunity, not just in recovering from the crisis, but in preparing us for the next one. COVID-19's shown in real time the catastrophic consequences of ignoring the experts.
This is their new hoax.
One day it's like a miracle, it will disappear.
We lose 2,753 lives on 9/11. We've lost over 7,000 lives to this crisis. I don't even have the words for it.
Not to be with him during the last 3 weeks of his life was just something I never envisioned.
But for all its horrors, this pandemic has given us something precious. Proof that when faced with an unseen, intangible force of nature, we do have the ability and the will to make fundamental changes to the way that we live our lives. It's also given us a moment to consider what a healing world might look like and a sense of our power to heal it if we have the courage to try.
I feel like the pandemic's also been a reminder that we're not invincible.
Totally.
You know, that thing that we're not expecting could come at any time, and get out the way because it's coming regardless.
Yeah. I think hopefully a lot of people's perspectives have changed now, but for a lot of people, the environment thing has always been an economic issue. And if you right now can present the option of potentially 59,000 jobs, it could change a lot of people's minds that maybe didn't think that it was such a huge priority.
Yeah, because the point is we're going to have to restart it all, the economy somehow.
Yeah.
So you take what options you got. So, yeah.
It's fascinating.